View.
Yep. We're away. Month 9. I'm going to adjust that camera.
Yeah.
9 months.
9 months.
We have been here for 9 months.
We have.
Okay.
Absolutely crazy.
But this, for all of our viewers, this is Ronnie, and Ronnie
Yes.
has been here longer than us.
I know.
Yeah, it's been, I think, going on 2 years of actually living here.
Yeah.
And it's been...
Sorry,
Nicki's
I don't-
watching YouTube.
I don't know
while
what happened there.
Inception, right?
Yeah. What happened there? I shouldn't even.
accidentally got
Okay,
me.
that's it.
Oh,
All right.
It's our stream.
That's our stream. Sorry about that, guys.
Okay.
So Ronnie, you said that you've been here for just over 2 years. When was the first time? So your parents are Salvador.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. So you were born in Canada,
Correct.
and when was the first time you came to El Salvador?
Oof. Well, the first time was as a child,
Yeah.
right? And I have some sort of consciousness when I was a younger kid. But I think the important part was from 2001 to 2016, I did not come to El Salvador.
Wow.
Okay.
And so it was from the moment that I was a young teenager to the moment I became a young adult, I skipped those years completely. And it was because of the mainstream media and, you know, what your family tells you and what you're hearing through the news about gangs and violence and all this stuff, which I imagine back then maybe was an issue.
Mhm.
But it kept me away. And, you know, El Salvador, third world country, Toronto is the center of the universe.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I was like, well, why would I go to El Salvador? What does El Salvador have to offer me? I was a young kid, didn't know any better.
Were your parents still coming down during that time?
Yes.
Oh, they still.
So my parents would come down.
Yeah.
Most of my family is here, but my immediate family was living in Toronto, and they would come and I mean, at that age, I was, my family's leaving.
Yeah,
and
party time.
let's
To
go.
myself.
Yeah,
My
exactly.
game's all right.
So I was in Toronto that whole time, and in 2016, my grandmother passed away, who lived here, and that's actually what drove me to come back. Came with my entire family. Obviously, went through some grieving processes, but within that time, I really got to touch back with my family that I hadn't seen since I was maybe 12, 13.
Wow.
So did family go to Canada to visit you guys?
No,
Really?
because you need a visa. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so it was really just my family. My dad has a brother who lives in El Salvador. So my uncle lives in Canada. He lives in Canada. And some of my uncles from my mom's side.
Right.
So it was very split.
Okay.
And if you were here in Canada, if you were here in El Salvador, it's very difficult to get a visa to go to Canada.
Right.
And is that just because of the potential overstaying or something like that?
I would assume
Yes,
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah.
So it's not, going through that process. I remember my grandmother, it wasn't until I got a little older that she started coming, because from my recollection, maybe a decade of trying to get her a visa, and then she would always get denied.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a very long process, and I have recollection. So as I got older, I think during those years that I never went to El Salvador, she was my reference when she would come to Canada, and my grandmother, I love her.
Yeah.
So, and that's why when that happened in my life, I knew I just felt it wasn't even a question, like I'm coming down here, I'm coming to meet the rest of my family that I haven't seen for over a decade.
Yeah.
And it was now a few years later, here I am.
You are.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to ask you a couple more questions, but I
Sure.
just want to make sure. So if anybody would like to ask any questions about what Ronnie's history is, or what his experiences are here in El Salvador, or moving, or Bitcoin, feel free to go in the chat on the side there. Also, if you have questions for Nicki and I, again, the chat box is always open. Hopefully you can hear us okay. The microphone's in a slightly different place due to building that was happening today. So if you're not hearing us properly, please let us know. Otherwise, carry on. So you did come down as a child to visit, and when you did, I guess you obviously built relationships, because you speak fondly of your grandmother, so you obviously spent time with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have very fond memories, because usually the trips here would be during Christmas time.
Yeah.
So I would have very fond memories of everybody coming to the house and having these big parties with everybody.
Yeah.
And I always spoke Spanish from my consciousness. English and Spanish, I could always speak them, let's just say.
Yeah.
There was a short period in time where I was super young where I only spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
But I don't have much recollection of that time.
All right.
Yeah.
So those relationships here, I mean, they were, if you're family, and maybe you guys have felt it here, everyone's very welcoming.
Really well.
And it doesn't even
Yeah.
matter if you're family or not.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
everyone's very welcoming, and during Christmas, this will be your first
Yes.
Christmas here.
Yeah.
So you guys will, I think you'll understand what I'm talking about. At the end of the month, actually, the parties start.
Oh,
So
really?
and
Oh,
at the end of November, we have Carnival in San Miguel.
Oh, really?
Okay.
So that's it's a
Okay.
weekend, and it's.
So
I
is
highly
it
recommend
mainly in
it.
San Miguel?
It's
So
all
you-
in San Miguel. So
Okay.
it takes over the entire town,
Wow.
and it's pretty much like the start of the festivities.
Okay.
And every town
Yes.
has different days. Some is starting as soon as the end of November, beginning of December.
Yeah.
Where it's called las fiestas patronales. So it's like the party of the town. I think for the inception of the town. Maybe someone can correct me if they have more knowledge about that. But the parties start and they're wild.
Like street parties?
Street parties, yeah. So
Wow.
you have like bands come in and there's
Yeah.
stages that they set up and food and just like
Yeah.
a street party that you would see anywhere all over the world.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And it's quite interesting you mentioned that because I know in France they used to over the summer they would have a fiesta in each of the towns, but every little town had a different type of food or
Mhm.
produce that
Mhm.
they celebrated. Is that the same as in El
I
Salvador?
would-
Like each area has a specific food that they
I would
specialize in?
assume so. The different areas in El Salvador you go to are specialty in different foods, and they make them in different ways.
Yeah.
Might be the same name of food, but the way it's prepared will be a
Prepared is
little
different.
differently.
Okay.
But yeah, the street festivals, it's essentially what it is. It's
Yeah.
celebrating the town, and it's those bring back memories. Like since I was a kid, I could always remember just going out in the street, and it's busy, and there's dancing, and there's live music,
Yeah.
and so those are the memories that once I felt safe and really, I think I came to appreciate what El Salvador had to offer is when for me it was like, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
This is where I want to come. This is where I want to spend my Christmases again. I could relate to why my family would come here.
Yeah.
I could see it, right? Because in Canada it's completely different.
Right.
Mhm.
Snow and
Yeah.
Keeps you indoors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
real winter
I
Christmas.
absolutely
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you came back you've been here for 2 years.
living here for about 2 years. Yeah.
So Bukele was in power at that point.
When I moved here, yes.
Was that part of the reasoning why you moved here?
I would say it had a play. There
Right.
was a part of me that the move to come here or to spend some more time in El Salvador came to me in 2016 while I was here, and I said to myself, I think I'd really like to spend more time here. Never a big fan of the Canadian winters. I can't lie. The snow is just not for me. The
Yeah.
cold is not for me. So I said, why not? It'd be an interesting challenge for me.
Yeah.
To go somewhere that I don't really have, other than my family. I don't really know anybody.
Yeah.
I haven't made those relationships that I made in school in Canada and friends and work. So, but I told myself I would take that risk.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that was already kind of in motion.
Yeah.
Then Bukele comes into power, and then the pandemic hits. And so now I'm in the mind frame where, okay, well, I see what my government is doing here in Canada, and I see what the government in El Salvador is doing. So I'm comparing. Like every day that I'm waking up, I'm comparing what's going on in both countries.
Yeah.
So did you already have a passport for El Salvador?
No.
No,
I didn't at the
Okay.
time. It was the goal,
Yeah.
but I didn't at the time.
Okay.
And so my Canadian passport gets me here.
Yeah.
But I could only spend so much time here,
Yep.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, same as the 3 months.
same as the,
Yeah.
the 90 days.
We heard that El Salvador was quite strict in the beginning with COVID.
Yes,
Were you comparing strict versus strict? At
I
this
was
point?
at that moment. I was comparing. I think the bylaws that they were putting into place,
Yeah.
because Toronto specifically, in my opinion, did it half-assed. They said, okay, if you are this type of business, then you have to close down. If you're this type of business, then you're allowed to do curbside delivery. And I didn't like the structure, because to me, and maybe you guys relate, it felt more like a proof of stake than a
Yep.
proof of work system.
Yes, New Zealand,
Yes.
same.
So, and here it was, no, it doesn't matter who you are, everything is shut down.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was comparing those
Wow.
Mm.
that's a really important comparison because we had the same thing in New Zealand where there was a double standard.
Mhm.
That doesn't sit well with me. It's like, no. What's this double standard thing? Like we're all in this together. And it kept coming through in different things, like how businesses could operate, who was allowed to do what, and then what government was doing versus what people were doing. And it's just like, hang on, we're in this together.
Yeah.
There's not meant to be two classes of people here. So it's quite interesting. Even though El Salvador was strict, it was one rule for all.
Correct.
There was no special privileges.
No.
Okay.
And that's how I felt like, right?
Yeah.
From my perspective. And I'll put it very simply, Walmart, which is this massive conglomerate and has, I mean, part of their business is grocery, but Walmart's allowed to be open because they sell apples, while this other type of store, that mom and pop, that is vital to the community is not.
Yeah.
What's really more vital?
Yes.
You know, and so I was comparing those two.
Yeah.
Who was being shut down in Toronto? What was being allowed to versus here? It was just, it's shut down. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And in the long term, I did feel like one was going to be better than the other.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like doing it half-assed was the right solution.
Yeah. That's wow. That's a really good perspective that I didn't have, and it helps me because people say to me, "Oh, yeah, but El Salvador was really strict too." But that's a really interesting insight. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's for me, it was, why if you have a diseased arm, don't cut, just chop it all off.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was thinking in that manner. And as things continue to progress, even though El Salvador was strict, it was a much shorter lockdown.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas Toronto, I mean, I could tell you that pretty much up until the beginning, there was still a lockdown in January, February of 2022. Like there were still some effects of that.
Yeah.
That's almost a whole year and a half later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense.
Yeah. So I noticed we've got a question for you, but
Yes.
just before we get to that, so I want to sort of get you in here. So
Gotcha.
did you move to El Salvador once Bukele sort of eased up on all the restrictions?
Yes.
Okay.
I was pretty much waiting for, I would sit in my room and I would compare the two and I would say, well, where would I want to spend my time?
Right.
And, I would, the rules were changing constantly.
Yeah,
Sorry,
they were.
the rules were changing constantly and I didn't know left from right at the time. And so as soon as I saw that I could come to El Salvador, I said, okay, if everything shut down in Canada, because it was, I was allowed to go to work under certain circumstances, but then I couldn't go to the gym, which is something that I like to do.
Yeah.
I couldn't play soccer, which is a serious passion of mine. So I was like, well, what am I doing here?
Yeah. Yeah.
So as soon as that opened up, I was like, okay, well, I've been planning this move for years at this moment. This is if it's not now, it'll be never.
That's awesome.
And so I just went for it and I came here. Yeah.
It's really cool. I like it.
Really good.
Yeah.
I like that you've got this origin story that's pre Bitcoin and pre sort of what was happening.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Donato Rodos says, welcome, Ronnie. What do you think about Bitcoin as an alternative currency in El Salvador beside the US dollar?
Wow, that's a great question. As an alternative, I think it's a great alternative. For me, Bitcoin, and actually James just mentioned it, that I was here pre-Bitcoin, pre-Bitcoin legal tender. But I have memories of when the Colon was legal tender, which was the local currency here. And being a bit of a background about me, I studied finance in school.
Oh, wow.
So I have a business management, a Bachelor of Commerce. And so that always intrigued me. I always had a bit of an understanding and I always wanted to know more. I think it's great that El Salvador has taken the front, is the front horse and is the front runner in allowing people to make a choice. If you don't like all the extra baggage that comes with the USD, then then Bitcoin is an option, and it's an option that to me it allows me to be free and exchange with anyone of my choosing. And there's nothing that's going to stop me from doing that. No one's going to stop me from doing that.
Right.
If I come into agreement with somebody, and we both agree, just like we both agree that a $100 bill is a $100 bill, then we both agree that 100 sats is 100 sats. And if we're willing to make that exchange, then there's nothing in between that's going to stop us.
Yep.
Whereas with the system we have now, if the government thinks that you shouldn't be buying this thing, then they can stop you right there.
Not even the government. So for example, when we wanted to buy a car, we had restrictions on how much money we could transfer every day. by the bank. The
Mhm.
bank was saying, oh, due to anti-money laundering laws, you're only allowed to transact $2,000 a day. And of course, we needed more than that. So it took us like 4 days, I think, to get the money together to be able to buy the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is buying it here.
Yeah, buying here in El
Here in
Salvador.
El
Yeah.
Salvador.
So
Yeah.
it's those restrictions,
Mm.
because we said to the guy, oh, well, can you just do a Chivo wallet transaction and he can receive it as US dollars? And he's like, nope, I need cash. He was real solid on it. I need cash. It's the only way the deal was going to happen.
Uh-huh.
And due to the restrictions in the banking system to get the cash out of the system,
Took us 4 days.
yeah, it took us 4 days. And that's not a restriction on Bitcoin. That was a restriction made by the banking and the government system.
The people in charge.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
ones.
And all I'm trying to do is buy a car.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm trying to. It's not even a massive purchase, really. It's not like, I mean, it is relatively for some people, but in terms of what happens in other countries like the States, where you go and buy $1 million home, or New Zealand $1 million home, a car's drop in the bucket.
Yeah. No, and I feel that because it's that the Salvadoran government has no control over the value of the US dollar at this point, because it's not the Salvadoran government's currency.
Okay.
And so we're relying now on the American system, their choices, the Federal Reserve and their choices when they're deciding to print money, and that money goes from the US and it flows into El Salvador.
Yeah.
And so we have no say into into where the money's spent, where that US dollar, how it's being inflated. We really have no say in that.
Yeah.
Whereas with Bitcoin, at least there's there's a mathematical, there's algorithms, there's something that I can visually see, and I know the rules aren't just going to change because somebody decides that they don't like the rules anymore because it doesn't benefit them. And so at least with Bitcoin, I can assess my risk, and I can assess it in a process that I can analyze it and it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And I know that nobody's going to change it, at least not until there's a consensus.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that, because the last thing I want is somebody that I don't know, that will never know me, that doesn't care about me, to change the rules because they're in control.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's great. I think it's great that El Salvador and the government has allowed people to feel free to explore this new technology, right? And we're all exploring it right now, and we're gonna see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I really like. It was something you mentioned. Like, it's between you and the purchaser or the vendor. There's just the two of you. You don't have this middleman. You don't have this bank, and I think it takes a while for people to actually understand that and understand the importance of that, because I know that when we've gone to the schools and done the sharing of them, just sort of transferring money across or stats across for the students, and it's saying, this is from me to you. It's like cash. It's you don't have
It's
this
old
middle
bartering
person.
system, right?
It's amazing, and when people actually get that, they go, wow, we actually don't have the bank here. This is incredible.
For me, a big part of it is like, I have friends from all over the world with different mentalities, different political affiliations. And, when I was growing up, social media was just starting. And I remember everyone saying, like, aren't you worried that they're going to follow you? Like, you have nothing to hide from the government. Like, and my thinking was, well, if you have nothing to hide, it doesn't matter. But as I've gotten older, I've started to realize that it's not if you have nothing to hide from the government. It's the fact that they don't like what you're saying, they can immediately shut you off.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if your neighbor who's not affiliated with you in lots of things, but your neighbors, and you're willing to work with each other and you're willing to build this community. It doesn't matter that you have two different viewpoints, whether they're political or it doesn't matter. But once you have that government involved and they're censoring you, that's where I kind of drew the line.
Yeah.
Right. Let me and my neighbor figure it out. Why do you have to be involved? Why do you have to tell me to stop?
Yeah. It's crazy to just for there's a few points I want to cover there. I don't know if anyone watching has watched the latest Bukele and Tucker Carlson interview, but I highly recommend it. You can find it on Rumble and BitChute. Have you watched that?
I've watched parts of it.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I've watched parts of it.
Because you were saying things there where I'm like, he's watched the interview. He's saying what Bukele was saying. But it's quite interesting that you've drawn these principles out of, and I think that's what's interesting about El Salvador is what El Salvador has done is Bitcoin is drawing attracting people with similar values and moral standing on how things should work. It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Got another question. First, Bastian, greetings. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hi.
Bastian.
Hi, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, and Mick. Hi, Mick. We know exactly who you are.
Hi, Mick.
I'm
Yeah,
Mick.
yes.
Next to surfer too.
Hi, Nicki, James, and Ronnie. Happy to see you guys. For those who are going to visit El Salvador for the first time, what would be your recommendations on places to visit, activities, and things to do? Now, this is.
wow.
This is,
Oh, sorry, I've got the wrong
Yes,
Mac.
you have.
I have got the wrong Mac. Sorry, guys. Hi, guys.
Yeah.
That's a loaded question.
That
That's a
is-
big
there's
question
big
there.
question. They're
Yeah.
They're going to be arriving on the 10th. They're coming down
Yes.
for conference.
Okay.
So they're wanting to.
Okay.
Yeah.
They've
Awesome.
got a social profile with Morty the cat.
Yep.
And,
Okay.
Yes.
It's just awesome photos of their cat.
Yeah.
it's the catnip head, and some of his photos he looks
Yep.
real high. So it's like,
Yeah.
Well, I'm super excited that you guys are coming to visit El Salvador. Part of why I'm here is and part of the reason that I've communicated with everybody is because I'm really proud to show off my country. I'm super proud of the people, the food, the culture, the land, everything. And so I love that you're coming to visit, and I can't wait for you to come down. Some of the questions were, what would be your recommendations on places to visit? Wow. I mean, there's so much. There really is so much for such a small country. There's, for example, if you like natural wonders, so many different waterfalls that you can visit. We got lakes, volcanoes, massive parks. There's so much.
There is a lot, and it's tricky. So we've just been to the Crater Lake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coatepeque.
And yes,
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I say Crater Lake.
Yeah.
Because
It is a crater
Crater
lake.
Lake.
is a
It is
crater
Crater
It is a
Lake.
crater
It is
lake.
Crater
Yeah,
Lake.
yeah.
Yes,
So
yes,
there's the
yeah.
volcano right beside it,
Yes.
which is the Santa Ana volcano.
Yes.
But then right beside it, there's the crater, and that's
Yes.
a crater lake.
Yeah.
and it was amazing.
Oh,
we-
the water was so beautiful.
We
It
were
was just-
dubious. We actually thought, because we've been to some lakes, and unfortunately they've been quite polluted.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
And we arrived at this one, and it's like, this actually looked really clean.
Yeah.
This looks really good.
Mm.
And to the point where, the even though the restaurants were over the water,
Yeah.
they appeared to have good standards in terms of protecting what they
What
were
they were
looking
protecting.
after.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah,
they were
really,
really good custodians. And then I couldn't help myself. I'm like, I have to jump in again,
Yeah.
like half a dozen times off this diving board, literally off the restaurant into the lake. It was
Yeah.
really cool.
Lago Coatepeque is one of my favorite places.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I love Chalatenango because it's colder up there.
Mhm.
So that's at the northeastern side of the country, I want to say.
Yes,
If
it is.
someone
That's where we
doesn't know,
went to the
correct me.
schooling.
Yeah.
That's where we went to that school.
Chalatenango,
Yeah.
when you go to El Pital, which is the border of Honduras and El Salvador, it's super cool. And
Right.
so, like, cold, frigid, it's beautiful. You have San Miguel, where Bitcoin City is going to be. You have, like, there's so much in this little country. And the good thing is, you can take day trips to pretty much anywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you wake up early in the morning, like a typical Salvadoran, 4:30 in the morning.
Yep.
You're out the door, and then you can arrive home by 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Watch the
Yeah.
sunset and had a great time exploring.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's a lot. We can even
Yes.
give you some references. There's a couple of really cool tour guides. El Zonte
Yeah.
School, Tunco Life. They have they'll take you
Yeah.
take you anywhere.
It's a really hard, even for Nicki and I, it's a hard question to answer because
And it depends on whether you want to climb mountains
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
volcanoes, if
Mhm.
you want to check the lakes out, if you want to check the beaches out.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, we went down to Playa Las Flores and it's just absolutely stunning, completely different again. So there's just different,
Yeah,
different
I mean,
places.
it's Surf City, and there's world
Mm.
competitions here because the surf is just
Yeah.
phenomenal. If
Yeah.
you want to pick up some surfing,
Yeah.
if you like to hike, if you like, I'm a little bit of a hiker, so I love the volcanoes. I love going to places where I can just go and get lost.
Mm.
You can ride motorcycles to the coffee tours,
Yeah,
right?
the Sunset Coffee
through-
Tour. Yeah, coffee
yeah.
tours are amazing. Yeah, great coffee.
There's so
yeah.
much, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little hard question, I think, to answer, but depends on what you like.
Mm.
Yeah.
there's
We'll get a
lot.
list for you for when you
Yeah.
arrive.
Definitely.
Jorge Martinez. Hi, my friend. I'd like to visit El Salvador. I am born in San Miguel from San Bernardino,
Bernardino,
California.
California. Cool. Yeah, El Salvador, San Miguel. It's and that's where we're going for Carnival. So there's
Oh,
something else, right?
okay.
Something super cultural. And Carnival is
Yeah.
is big. I mean, I'm hearing this from people from San Miguel, and they're saying it's like the third largest carnival in the world.
Really?
I think everybody
Is
takes
it?
that, I think everybody takes that claim, right?
So
'Cause
is it going to be sort of like the Rio de Janeiro sort of?
that's what I've heard.
Really?
So this will be my
Wow.
first time going too.
Okay.
Right? Because I'm not from that side of the
No.
country.
No.
But there's a lot going on, and
So
so
that's the first weekend of December.
it's the last weekend of November.
Oh, last weekend.
yeah,
of November.
last weekend of November.
Okay. Oh, busy.
Yeah, busy. This is
I
crazy.
know it's
It's-
busy.
yeah,
It is
yeah.
busy.
And especially because of conference, and conference is on like the 15th and 17th, so there's
Mhm.
going to be all this influx of
Mhm.
people,
Mhm.
and it's great because I mean, there's just all of a sudden there's going to be all these events
Mhm.
that are already planned and already traditional that
Yeah,
people
yeah.
are going to be able to go and see,
Yeah.
which is
We're getting to that point of the year where now it's starting to get into busy season here in El Salvador.
yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, well, it's a dry season that we've actually noticed. The
Yeah.
rain's pretty much stopped, except for last night we had some kind of crazy.
Oh, last night was crazy. We had a storm blow through, and then we had an earthquake, and wow, what was there was something else. We woke up like 3 or 4 times through the night. It was weird.
Yeah.
the earthquake was that was my 5th one I've ever
Oh, yeah.
experienced.
Oh, nice.
So I'm starting to get a little bit more used to that.
I,
one.
I slept through it. Sorry, I'd been awake quite a bit before with the storm and stuff, but yeah, so I don't know when. Yeah, I slept through it. Maybe I wake up at some point, but who knows?
That's good.
One thing I
Yeah.
did want to mention about just the traveling through El Salvador, I do feel that during the last 2 years, I'm more open to traveling and seeing the country because of everything that's been going on. With the government really cleaning up and trying to do things the right way and make people feel safe. I do feel safe, and so now I am willing to go out and explore more of the country.
Right.
Whereas,
Yeah.
when I was younger, like I mentioned earlier, something that I was scared and wouldn't even have considered it.
Yeah.
No.
And so that's my biggest thing now would be come here for
Yeah.
yourself.
And it's so
experience it.
small.
Yeah.
Really, when you think about it,
Super
it's 10 times smaller than New Zealand, and so you can get around quite easily. It's quite incredible. Mick's just come back with what advice would you give to people, expats, who want to move and start a business in El Salvador?
Come here and do it.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I believe, like James and I, quite often we talk about what should we, what is it? I mean, we've both got lots of different ideas, but it is about what's your passion. Come and try it out, because there's so many opportunities here, and I think El Salvador has been, and I don't like to say the word squashed, but I'm going to say squashed because of everything that's gone on, and they haven't been able to bloom yet. And I think that there's an opportunity to come, and if you can start that blooming, then they're going to follow.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
I
So,
like the word that you used, the
Mm.
opportunity. I was having lunch today with a hotel owner, and we were talking about that, how El Zonte, where I'm living, it's kind of a food desert. The closest supermarket is 20 minutes away, and if you want something, you can't just go really pick it up real quick. And so for me as a business person, I see opportunity. I see an opportunity to be able to create infrastructure that is ultimately going to benefit us all. And so that's the thing I would say. I would say, come here, find your passion, do it, because there's an opportunity for you to do it. And if it's your passion, then you're just going to do it, and it's going to happen. If you build it, they will come.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I really do feel that here.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
do feel that here.
And so just on that note, Canegwe,
Yes.
is that if I said that
Canegwe,
right?
yeah, that's
Canegwe,
right.
yeah.
Okay, Canegwe would be an awesome example
Mm.
of somebody coming here and following their passion. He's a surfer and he's a chef.
Yep.
And he surfs for most of the week. And then there's 3 mornings, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 until 12. He's got a really simple menu, but they are really good.
And it's different every week.
Every
It's
week.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, you have a salty or a savory breakfast. Oh, sorry.
Salty
Yeah,
and sweet.
Salty and sweet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Breakfast option. This is just the 2 options, and then basically coffee.
Mm.
And he has made a lifestyle here doing that, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
love what he does.
I love what he does, and I love his food. It's super creative, super delicious.
Yeah.
But I think it touches back on that point where I've spoken to him, and I'm like, how do you decide? Like, where do you come up with these crazy ideas?
Yeah.
And he's like, honestly, it's simple, because I don't have much options for food. I just see what they have on the truck, and I just grab it, and then I just come up with something.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
cool.
that's coming down to the opportunity and the passion.
Yeah.
My story is I came here, I quit my job in Toronto. Like I had said, I really left everything. And I said, all right, well, I was able to, through my financial education and financial literacy, I was able to save enough money, put it aside, and followed this passion of mine.
Yeah.
Came here pre-Bitcoin, but I knew what was going on. I'd heard rumblings about the Hope House and Bitcoin Beach project.
Mhm.
I'd heard rumblings of it, and I'd seen videos on YouTube. I went out and I was like, "What? Like, okay, let me check this out while I'm in El Salvador." And now, a few years later, I'm working with Mi Primera Bitcoin, but financial and Bitcoin education is super important to me, and that's my passion. So I don't even feel like I'm working. I'm doing stuff that is, for me, just I would love to help out the community. I feel like financial education is something that should be given to everybody.
Yeah.
It shouldn't take me getting into thousands of dollars of debt to go to a prestigious school to learn about this stuff. That's because not everybody has that opportunity. I understand that I'm privileged and blessed to have been born in Canada and been given access to the debt, because that's what it is, right? In El Salvador, there's no access to debt.
No.
Which in hindsight might be a good thing.
Might be a good
It
Right?
is.
Right? It's
I
yet
agree.
to be known, but in
Yeah.
Canada, I had to go into debt to be able to learn this, because this was not common knowledge at the university level. At the high school level or at the public school level. So those are, come here, do it, find your passion and see who you can help.
Absolutely.
Well, there's all sorts of weird opportunity too.
Yeah. I think so.
And the restrictions are quite low. It's
Yeah.
quite good.
Yeah.
Bastian, he says, I was born in La Union. My family lives in San Miguel. Greetings from Washington. So, hi, Bastian.
Greetings.
And then we've got a hello from a 60 OW Hazy. So, hi.
Hello.
And then Bastian
Thank
again, I'm going to run away from the cold weather in January or February and go to El Salvador.
Wow.
Great stuff.
Amazing.
Awesome.
That's when the waves are really nice here.
Yeah.
Really small for the beginners like myself.
Yeah.
And escaping the cold. It's one of the reasons that I came here, right?
Yeah.
Didn't want to be stuck in the cold and be stuck in lockdown.
Yeah. What is it? We're in winter right now, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, we're in winter right now. We're in winter going into summer.
Yeah.
And this is a New Zealand summer, which is pretty good. Like,
Yes, the winter.
has been like being in a New Zealand summer.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we get wet summers. So for us, this has been pretty much like that.
Pretty normal.
Yeah, pretty normal.
Okay.
And so now going into summer, we're mentally bracing ourselves.
Well, we did come in February, so we did go through the hottest months.
Yes,
Yeah, we've been
the
through
hottest month I think is March.
Yeah,
March,
April.
April.
Yeah. So that was pretty stinking.
It can get pretty rough down here, but
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Now you mentioned surfing, so we haven't got any more questions. But if you've got any questions for Ronnie or James or myself, please put them in the note thing beside it, and we can answer them. But surfing. So you've done a bit of surfing here.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Before I got here, I didn't.
Toronto wouldn't have
Yeah,
had
exactly.
surfing
No
there.
surfing in Toronto.
Yeah.
No real swimming.
Yeah.
And landed in Zonte, and just naturally you'd wake up and see the waves and see people going into surf, and so picked up a curiosity for it. Ended up taking a few classes, and one of my first classes I actually fractured my foot.
Oh.
So during my when I decided I was going to stay here, within like 2 months I had a fractured foot, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like
It's
the
hot,
healthcare,
that's not-
healthcare here is terrible, but stuck it out. And then once I got better, there was a little bit of fear of getting back on a surfboard. And so I actually was talking to some of the locals, and they do bodyboarding, where it's a shorter board, and you're on your body. And so I was like, let me try this out, since I'm a little too scared to try surfing. Like, I don't want to re-injure myself.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of what I've been doing now. So
Right. Cool.
you see me more on a bodyboard than really ever on a surfboard.
So, was it the way you fell that you fractured your foot? Like, did you put your foot down?
It was actually from continuously banging the board when I was coming up. So when I was popping up, I would drag my foot, and then it was
Alright.
that dragging
Okay.
motion.
Right.
It just
Okay.
fractured it right in between. It was my big toe and my second toe.
All right.
So it was a little bit of a fracture. I remember coming back from class and asking, "Is it normal for your foot to hurt this much?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, but it'll be gone by tomorrow."
Yeah.
And then tomorrow is just bigger.
Oh no.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then have you been down to San Miguel and not San Miguel, down to Playa Las Flores?
I've been to Las
Yes,
Flores.
Yeah.
I did go surfing out there once. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's beautiful down there. Very, even more so underdeveloped than the rest of the country. But I think that is why it has its charm.
Yeah.
It's very quiet. It's very isolated in a good way.
Yeah.
You're waking up at 4:30 in the morning. because that you know that by 6 or 7 when the sun's down, everything's closed. So it really allowed me to be with myself a lot more. And maybe you guys can relate that there's a lot going on around here.
And we do agree, because the vibe was completely different down there when we went down there. It was so chill, and I could very easily see how you could go there and just like go, this is just a zone in time for me.
And I visited different places in San Miguel. There's La Alegría and Berlin, which are up on the mountain, and it's super beautiful there as well. They have some nice lagoons, and so again, going back to the question of where should I go, there's really a lot to see. A lot of places that are still maybe even undiscovered, aren't as big of those Instagram photos, like they're not out there yet. It's very underground. And so I would say come here, find a local, find someone you trust, and let them take you. Because there's a lot of beautiful things to see.
Absolutely. No, I agree on that.
We really liked that area down there when we went to visit, and we're like, oh, the vibe's really good. But and I think Francesco, he was like, so you're moving down there like right now? It's like no. Partially because we actually enjoy the community here, and we're really enjoying being part of the early sort of adopter movement that's here. So we really enjoy having our neighbors being Bitcoiners and popping over and saying, hey, what's up, and all of that. And if we moved down there, it would be quite a change. We would feel quite isolated a lot more. And even though we're not against that, but because we're in a new country, it's still early. We do enjoy having the interaction.
For sure. For sure. I mean, that's part of the same reason why I'm here as well. There's a big expat community, and it allows me to feel comfortable. It allows me to, my Spanish is not the greatest personally. Everyone senses that I speak great fluent Spanish. So here, I really try and make a focus and an emphasis on speaking Spanish with everybody. Because I don't have to think when I'm speaking English, but when I'm speaking Spanish, I still do have to think. So it makes me feel more at home, and there's certain topics that I can discuss. But I can give a little bit of Me Permitted Bitcoin Insider. We are looking to expand, and we do want to go to San Miguel, and we want there to be a community there as well. We want there to be communities of Bitcoiners in San Miguel and Sultan, and not just because from my understanding and speaking to Salvadorans is, especially the ones that do live in San Miguel, and I've heard President Bukele say this a lot, is that they feel like they're left out.
And that makes I can understand that.
That side of the country feels like, well, San Salvador gets all the love, and Libertad and Ruta de las Flores, they get all the infrastructure, and we're left with nothing. And so that's something that we are focusing on. We want it to be for everybody, and we want people to be able to go to, Bitcoin City is supposed to be in San Miguel. San Miguel Sultan, like in that area. So La Union, exactly. So
they and we actually stayed when we were down in Playa Las Flores. We stayed at Hotel Martinis, and that's where you had the education there. And that was really good. So that's interesting to know and good to know that that's what's happening. And of course, Surf City 2 is going in, so there's definitely going to be some big development come through. So we've got a couple of questions. First, Bastian, how was the earthquake? Did you get scared? Well, I slept through it, so don't ask me.
And I lived through the Christchurch, New Zealand quakes, which were like 8 point somethings. So, these are baby ones.
I because this is my 5th one, it wasn't really scary anymore, but I was very conscious of what could fall.
I think I didn't feel this one, but we had one when we first arrived, like in the first week. And again, we're not used to having these big concrete ceilings. And so that was a concern for me. It was like going, wow, we've got concrete above us. We're not, it's something we were not used to.
If it falls, that's
Did you see the message I sent afterwards in Zonte group in Telegram? No. I was just like, well, if there's ever an earthquake again, look for a frame. You want to go under the frame, maybe under a table, like put yourself in a situation, because that's been the 5th one I've experienced. It was I think the same size as the first one I ever experienced was a 6.0, 5.7, 6.0. I think that's where it was. The first one was a lot scarier than this one. This one I was kind of like, oh, it's the world's shaking. Okay.
It depends how deep they are. Because they can be the same Richter scale, but if the depth is different, it won't feel as.
Yesterday's felt pretty big.
Yeah.
For me, I was sitting outside and we were just having some coffee at 10:30 p.m.
Wow.
Very Salvadoran of me, right? Just having some Salvadoran coffee, talking about Bitcoin, and I think we were maybe even talking about CBDCs, and then the earth just started shaking.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And,
So it must be before the storm came through.
I can't
it-
remember.
for us, it
Yeah.
was. So for us,
Yeah.
it was earthquake,
And
then
the
storm, like
Ah,
immediately.
Okay.
Ah.
And so
okay.
it was kind of like, oh, I guess this might be how it ends.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
Donado is asking Ronnie, have you ever heard about Playa La Cacao?
Cacao?
Yeah, I considered extremely potential for tourism and restaurants and hotels.
I haven't. No, I haven't
Mm.
heard of that. It'd be interesting to know where that is. I would love to go check it out. I'm still
Mm.
exploring the country myself. And so on my free time, I go around, take my
Mm.
motorcycle and
Yeah.
try to go to places that I haven't
Yeah.
been to before.
No. So talking about motorcycles just quickly, how do you feel driving on the road with motorcycles?
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be
Yeah.
doing it.
Really?
yeah,
We
yeah.
saw two foreigners on push bikes going up the volcano,
Yeah,
and I was like, they're keen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
no,
I feel more comfortable driving here than I ever did in Canada.
Really?
I must say so
Wow.
myself.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like there's an organized chaos here.
Yeah, that's a
And-
good way to put it.
Because I know that anything can happen, I'm always so aware on my motorcycle.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas in Canada, it's just like I can maybe because I've been so comfortable and
Mhm.
lived there my entire
Mhm.
life, I get comfortable and then I kind of zone out.
Mm,
Whereas here, because I'm unaware of everything, I'm always paying attention to my
Yes.
surroundings.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Okay.
so and I love to ride. Like that's just something about me.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy
Yeah.
riding.
Yeah.
So it's been good. I
Okay.
can't complain.
In yesterday in San Salvador, I noticed the motorcycle behind us as we're coming up to a
Oh, that's
roundabout.
right. Yeah.
And we went through this roundabout, and then this motorcycle just whoom,
Yeah.
on the like undercut us and straight through. And Nicki's like,
yeah, because it wasn't even. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really funny.
It was
funny
crazy.
how
Yeah.
we did it.
And
yeah.
there were other cars going around the roundabout with us.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Whoa, what was?" And I'm like, "It's okay." Like I knew he was behind
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
but because I knew he was there, it wasn't a surprise that he undercut us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I sort of, like
Yeah.
you say, I was ready for the unexpected,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
that was he just
Mhm.
took the opportunity.
yeah, yeah,
I find that for me, I find that's true.
Mm.
I'm so aware of everything around me
Mm.
that when it does happen, I'm like, oh, maybe I should have done a better job of
Yeah.
preparing myself for that
Yeah.
unexpected thing. Like I question myself.
Yes.
I'm like, should I have been more prepared?
Yeah.
yeah.
That's Bitcoin self-responsibility,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ginger says hi. Bastian again. Bitcoin City will be in La Union. Yes, it's supposedly on the edge of the volcano down
Uh-huh,
there, isn't it? That
uh-huh.
it's going to be
Mm.
had. But
Yeah.
maybe we'll learn more at conference.
Oh, I would
Oh,
hope
yes.
so.
Mm.
Yes, conference. Any Salvadorans watching, you can get a ticket for $21 if you've got your
Yes.
DUI. And it would be I recommend coming along just to see what it's all about, because I think a lot of people might have misconceptions. So even if you are interested or not interested, it's probably worth just to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many people, so much knowledge. There's even if you've got just a little bit of interest, just to come and there's workshops, there's speakers, there's so much stuff happening.
It's a full lineup.
Yeah,
Oh,
full
really?
lineup.
It's
It's
a full lineup.
amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know how, like over 120, maybe 130 speakers or something. 3 days. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's they're really.
I-
jamming it in.
I'm a lifelong student and learner, and so I was like, well, who am I going to see, and what can I not miss? Because like, there's just so much.
There's so
going on.
much. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
really smart people and developers and builders, and I just have so many questions.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, yeah.
So I'm really looking forward. I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
So anyone who's on the fence, and especially if you're Salvadoran with a DUI, do it.
Yeah, $21. It's
Yeah.
well worth it. Yeah. Oscar Lopez, beaches, El Tunco, El Cuco, and Costa del Sol. Yep, I would say all pretty stunning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, really, really stunning.
Yeah.
Bastian again says, I saw a girl probably from the US that in TikTok experiencing for the first time. She made a video. It was so funny. I'm not sure what that was about, but that's okay. And Oscar, hello from Toronto, Canada. Carnival in San Miguel already started.
Oh,
really?
there we go.
Yeah.
I guess so. I think he's right. I think the final day, which is the big party,
Yeah.
is on the last day of the month.
Wow.
So
Okay.
he
Could be.
Mr. Oscar,
Oscar?
yeah, thank you. I think the smaller parties have already started
Right.
Wow.
in San Miguel, and then
Okay.
it's the big
one.
big one is at the end of the month where it takes over the entire city center.
Yeah. Because I know that you know how we just had the Day of the Dead
Mhm.
celebration here. That because that's really bringing in some really old cultural that's been sort of lost.
Yeah.
And so there was a big ceremony, and I remember Neil posted it on Insta, and I can't remember where it was, but that looked incredible. Like
I saw a few videos.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, for me, it was the first time. Was it yesterday or on Wednesday?
It was
days ago, I
Wednesday.
think.
It was Wednesday.
Yeah.
I woke up and I went to go get some breakfast, and then I realized, like, why is the San Salvador empty?
Yeah.
No, I'm from Toronto, so I've never experienced
No.
a Day of the Dead celebration. And,
Yeah.
and then my colleague's like, oh yeah, it's a day off today. It's the Day of the Dead. And
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. So what? I can't get breakfast today?
Yeah.
And then no, not if you didn't prepare it. You can't get breakfast today. The city was pretty much shut down on Wednesday.
Yeah,
So
well,
that was my first time
we
experiencing that.
came down not realizing because we were up in Santiago, and we were quite surprised actually because we went to the Crater Cafe Bistro Crater Coffee Bistro.
Okay.
And we'd stopped in there, and it was packed.
Okay.
And
So
we're
many
going,
people.
oh,
Because it was a
okay.
day off,
It was
right?
a day
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's all these
Realize.
motorcyclists and
We're like, man,
things
these
and-
guys do amazing business up here on the edge of the volcano in the middle of the week,
Yeah,
and we, no idea it was a holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to see they're busy though.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, you can pronounce this name, Guillermo.
Guillermo. He says, "Hey guys, I'm here." So he's arrived. Well, welcome,
Oh,
Guillermo.
Welcome.
In
So
El
where have you
Salvador.
come from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come visit us.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're in El Zonte, there's a lot of people here around. We're in San Blas, but
And if you are going to be here for the conference, like James just mentioned,
Yeah.
$21 with your Dewey gets you a
Yes.
ticket and
Yeah.
entrance, and we're all going to be there.
yeah.
We're gonna be there
Yeah.
all 3 days.
Yep, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's gonna be really good.
We have to actually sit and do that exactly that. Because I
We
said
need to
to
go through the
James, we need to
schedule.
go through the schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
what's
there's
happening.
certain people that I personally don't want to miss.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well, who
Who would be your
yeah.
favorite? Who's sort of like the
Okay.
one?
Just a couple.
for
One,
me,
just
if I could only see one person,
Yeah.
it would be a fellow Canadian, and his name is Greg Foss.
great.
yes.
So,
Okay,
he's
yeah.
a fellow Canadian, Greg Foss. I love him. I love really what he talks about and how he's so analytical, and like that's the
Yeah.
point that I would like to get to.
Yeah.
Just because it makes your decisions easier, in my opinion, and he has so much conviction, and I feel like that comes with knowledge and experience.
Yes. Yeah.
He's got a lot of knowledge and experience in the bond market, and basically what he's seeing is it's out of control based on his years of experience, decades of experience, and he's like, Bitcoin's a great.
It's a great
hedge.
hedge. Yeah, it's totally a great hedge, and I totally agree with his theory, with his thesis.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it for myself, and I'm studying it a little bit more myself and learning more about how the bond market really affects all the other markets that are around, and bond market, smart money, all this, all this terminology. And it's thanks to Greg Foss, and I love what he puts out there, and him being a fellow Canadian, I'm really looking forward to seeing him. Yeah, because like before I got here and before I was here, I wasn't a Bitcoin, but I was a crypto bro, I would say, right? And being here really changed that perspective for me. And so a lot of these people that are coming are still somewhat new to me, and people that I'm really wanting to get to know their work and why they're doing it, because of meeting people just like yourself.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's
Thank you.
really cool.
Meeting people like you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I know, it's amazing. Okay, so we've got
We've got
Bastian.
a super chat.
We've
Thank
got a
you.
super chat. Do I need to talk the super chat first?
Well, it's,
Oh, no,
it's
just
just thank you,
Guillermo.
Wonderful.
Thank you for
Thank
Guillermo.
you,
Thank you, Guillermo. Yeah.
Much appreciate
I was
it.
actually hesitant to pronounce your name as well.
Yeah.
Guillermo.
Okay.
Thankfully, we have someone who can make sure we do it right.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
so
yeah.
from Bastian, in San Miguel, there is a mini carnival every day in different
Barrios.
barrios
Until the last one.
last
Yes. So
Okay.
so there we
this
go.
is what's going on.
People
All
from
right.
San Miguel, they're
They're
chiming in. Thank you.
partying hard.
They're partying. So
They're
every
excited.
day, the little colonias and barrios and neighborhoods will have
Their own
their
special.
own special for that day, and it's almost like a touring carnival until the very
Yeah,
last
that's
one.
fun. Wow, that sounds
Are
fun.
you
Does
guys-
that surprise you?
Yeah. It
No,
does,
no, it doesn't. It doesn't
Oh,
actually.
right?
And it's to me. That's
It's unique for me because we don't do that in New
New
Zealand.
Zealand. No,
No.
but I'm just thinking if you think about El Salvador
If you
and
think about Latin America,
America, yeah,
Central
absolutely.
America, yeah.
They love to party
It's
and
in
they
the
love
script- it's in
to
the script,
celebrate.
right?
Yeah,
Yes,
it is. It is in this year. That sounds really cool. Oscar, how do you guys feel with the earthquake last night? I guess is a first shaking experience for you guys since we don't get anything like that in the east coast of Canada. I live in Los Angeles. Well, we come from New Zealand, And New Zealand has had some pretty devastating earthquakes.
We're a volcano nation as well.
Yeah. So we have experience. I slept through it.
I was having coffee.
You're having coffee.
My 10:30 p.m. coffee.
So it wasn't. Yeah. Well, I can't talk about it because I wasn't.
I think
aware.
I woke up after the initial jolt and just had the, how you get the after tremor, and it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Guillermo, when you guys go back to visit San Miguel, my department soon, one of this a surf competition. Yes, we'll be making there in Las Flores Beach in El Cuco.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. When we were down there and we're talking to Jose at Hotel Martinis, he actually mentioned he's booked out for the surfing competition. So he's really excited for it.
Amazing.
Yeah, which is really good.
So is Guillermo, was he going to be there for it?
Are you going to be here, Guillermo, for the competition? I think he said he's here.
He's here.
Yeah,
he's arrived.
He's arrived.
So you going? Are you a surfer?
Will you be at the actual competition? Check out our video, our recent road trip video in Hotel Martinez.
Yeah.
It's a great little place to stay. There's also heaps of cheap hostels there, and it was really impressive. Yeah, lots of cool things. Oh, but I mean, you obviously probably know. I mean, you're from the area, so
yeah. And the one thing I want to say, it totally makes sense that the competitions there, Las Flores has some of the most. It's just super consistent, super beautiful, long lines, and as it's a surf. I'm not a surfer. I'm a beginner, but I can see why it's a surfer's paradise.
Yeah.
It's absolutely stunning.
We've got these gorgeous Australian friends. Well, we've only met them as friends, as being online friends, so we don't actually haven't personally met them yet. But they're moving over here in early next year, and they're Australian surfers, and so that's San Miguel area. What's the other one? Oh, San Miguel and Playa Las Flores. That area is definitely where they're looking at living, because that's just their dream to be with surf. Yeah,
I can see why.
Bastian, I'm a crypto investor also, and I'm into the great NFT project Bulls and Apes. Check it out. Okay.
We won't go down that path too much. But Yep. Cool.
Okay.
I'm too focused on Bitcoin to focus on NFTs.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of curious about NFTs coming into the Bitcoin space with the Taro network.
Yeah.
I think I'm not against them. I'm just a lot more pro Bitcoin due to the more difficult. It's more difficult for the governments to censor, as you're already seeing Ethereum be highly regulated. Solana is trying to regulate itself, and who knows what's happening with Cardano and the others. So I'm definitely interested in NFTs and things like that, but I would like to see them on the blockchain.
Yeah, because on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, on the Bitcoin network.
Yeah.
Because I believe that they bring a lot of value to brands.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think there's a future there.
Yeah.
Oscar, okay. And in El Salvador, when I was a child, I had some shaking experiences as well. But most countries with volcanoes will get them. So don't be afraid about them. Blessings. Gracias. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Bastian, New Zealand is the Ring of Fire. In many ways.
Is that what they call it? The Ring of Fire?
We're part of the Ring of Fire.
The Ring of Fire,
so it goes all the way up to Hawaii and back down
Yeah.
around. And,
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I was being silly. And thank you. Is that another $5?
Yes. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah,
You're
thank
very
you.
generous and kind. Thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate that. KMC, hi guys.
Hello.
Hi. And then we've got a laughing face. And Gloria, hi. And then Guillermo again. Yes, I know about that hotel. It's beautiful. Also,
That's my mom online. Hi, Mom.
Which one, Gloria?
I love you. Yeah.
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 Awesome. Hi, Gloria.
That's my mom.
That's really nice. I don't get my mum coming and talking, listening to me.
Yeah.
No. Yes, I know about the hotel. It's beautiful. I know the owner of Vista Las Palas Hotel. They are my town, Chirilango.
Chirilagua. In San Miguel.
Oh, cool. They're
Yeah.
really good people too. Their hotel is amazing.
Okay. Awesome.
So that's great to have another hotel
Yes.
that, we can go and have a look at and check
we
out.
love learning about recommended places to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Oscar, welcome to El Salvador. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, we love it here.
It's really cool, guys. I really appreciate all your questions. What time are we at?
Another 5 minutes. So we
5:23.
normally make this a 1 hour
Yep.
session. So if anyone's got any questions that you're umming and ahhing about, do it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially if you haven't subscribed to the channel, because it takes a minute before you're allowed to ask a question.
Yeah.
So subscribe and you can ask a question, and then we'll probably wrap it up
Yeah.
But-
yeah.
Guillermo, thank you very much. Muchas
Yes.
gracias. We really appreciate the super chats. That's really
Yeah.
awesome. And your recommendations on the hotel. Check that out.
Okay, Wendy. Hi. How do you adjust living in El Salvador when you lived in Toronto the majority of your life?
Oh, wow. Yeah, it was difficult. There were some, I guess, first world lifestyle things that. Cute little cats.
We've got cats that are joining our chat.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're all
adorable.
wild. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say there were luxuries in life that I felt that really just came down to consumerism that didn't really add any value to my life.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's, I can talk about anything. I can talk about where I was spending my time to go, nightlife. I could talk about clothes. I could talk about these things that I feel like Toronto, everybody would put makeup on themselves to not show really how they felt on the inside. Because if they felt like anything like how I felt like I wasn't reaching my full potential. I was working in a job that gave me an opportunity, but at the same time, I didn't feel like I was giving back in any way whatsoever.
Okay.
And so it was a little bit more difficult moving to El Salvador, but for me, the best part was that it challenged me to do things that I wasn't used to doing, that I took for granted. Like I said, being in El Zonte, living in what I would consider a food desert, going to the grocery store was a much bigger accomplishment than it was in Toronto.
Yeah.
And so it's just something as simple as going to the grocery store, getting food, cooking my food, and then realizing how important and vital that is to my life, and giving that the importance that it deserves, and forgetting about the rest of the fluff.
Yeah.
Wow.
It really challenged me because, I was just used to having, ordering Uber Eats at a press of a button, having it arrive, and doing nothing with my life.
Yeah.
Which I could have easily stayed in. But here it was those challenges, those very simple challenges of being a human, where they were really exposed, and I was really open to that.
Right.
Going to the bathroom, something
Yes, I know.
something as simple as going
Yeah.
to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
We have plumbing challenges
Yes.
right now.
Yeah.
So we're,
I think that food thing is really, it is big. We every 2 weeks we do a trip to San Salvador. And we go to the mercados every week, so we want to support the locals. So we definitely do that. That's not a problem to get the fresh fruit and veggies. But to go and get sort of staple stuff every 2 weeks, and it's a day trip. Like when it's never been a day. It used to be, hop in the car, drive 2 minutes down the road, get your stuff, come home again.
Mindless,
Easy,
right?
Mindless.
Yeah.
But now it is a big process in what you're doing. We were not going to stop there because we've got a few more questions coming through now.
Okay.
Right, Mick, question for you guys. What is your favorite El Salvadoran food besides pupusas?
Pupusas.
Wow. The easy one for me, there's so many, but I really like tamales de lote, which are corn tamales. They're sweet.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. You can have them with like sour cream.
Oh,
So I
never
don't know if
tried
you guys
those.
have tried those.
Yeah,
Those are
no.
like a street food.
Yeah.
We've seen them being sold, but pre-cooked.
Oh,
Yes,
so
but-
they were wrapped up in the
Yeah,
In
Yes.
the
leaves.
banana
leaves.
leaves.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we haven't really been brave enough to buy them.
No.
Okay.
bring them
They're
home.
next to pupusas. I would put that as my
Okay.
number two.
Okay,
All
we'll
And they
try
have
those.
so many different kinds too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because our Spanish isn't good enough. When we ask what it is, we're just not sure.
What comes out of it. Yeah. Oh, that's good to know. Yeah. Okay, Karina. Hi, Ronnie. I'm glad to see you. Tell me, I haven't been to El Salvador for 11 years. Is it safe to visit? What do you recommend to visit?
Yeah, I feel super safe here. It's definitely much different than being in Toronto. In Toronto, I would walk around at all times of the day and night. The infrastructure for buses and stuff was there. Here, I maybe you guys have witnessed it. I'm walking around El Zonte 10, 11 p.m. and everything's totally fine. I don't feel unsafe in any way whatsoever. Being in the city, it's the same. I'm just noticing that there's less and less people than what I'm used to being out and walking in the city. I'm a big walker. I love to walk.
Yeah.
And so I noticed there's not a lot of walking. So the only thing that makes me feel unsafe is the fact that there's nobody around when I'm walking late at night.
And
only thing.
I think a lot of that has to do with the gangs and the previous, security and safety of people. So we found that was one of the biggest things we found when we first arrived, was the fact that nobody walked anywhere, and we were walkers as well. And that, was quite off-putting in the sense that you're the only one walking.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to break an old habit.
Yes.
And then when you're the only one walking around at night, it makes you question yourself. Because I've been in that situation where I'm walking in San Salvador. It's not even that late, but it is past, like, it's dark. It's 8 p.m. maybe, and I'm walking down the main road, and I feel safe. But then I start asking myself, is there a reason that I'm the only person walking down this road? Yeah. And it's really just an internal question that I'm asking myself. Yeah. Why am I the only person walking down the road? Yeah. But I'm still here. Yeah. So it feels safe. Always, be aware of where you are and be aware of your surroundings, I would say. Yeah. But generally right now I feel really good.
Yeah, no, we do. We do.
And that's a really good point, is that there's dangerous areas in most big cities. Yeah. And if you're in the dangerous area, it's this uncommon common sense that's required to assess your surroundings and go, actually, this is a bad area. I need to get out of here. Yeah.
Toronto's no different. Toronto has its bad areas. Toronto has areas where gang violence is more prevalent. Yeah. So it's no different. And people would ask me, is it more dangerous? And I grew up in an underprivileged area in Toronto. My family, immigrants from El Salvador to Canada. So it's not like we were put in the middle of the most glorious and luxurious neighborhood. We were in a neighborhood with a lot of immigrants from all over the world. And so it becomes more difficult. So I grew up around, seeing things and being made aware of violence and stuff like that. So to me, it wasn't any much more of a shock. And so I actually feel safer here because in my community, in Zonte, and here, I know everybody. Yeah. So I feel more comfortable. Yes. In Toronto, in my community, I don't even know anybody anymore.
Yeah. It's amazing how that happens. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like in Toronto, you're not talking to your neighbor really. It's not normal. Maybe could have been part of my culture, but you weren't, you didn't know the people around you. And everybody's busy doing their own thing and so much going around. While here, it's impossible for you not to talk to your neighbor every day. Yeah. It really is.
True.
Yeah. And I think there's a bit of pioneering spirit and adventure and excitement as well, which encourages you. For us, we talk to our neighbors almost every day as well. Yeah. I mean, the Barty's children every morning, hi James and Nicki, every morning. It's
just what it is.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
No, definitely. Okay, so we've got from Guillermo. You're welcome. Blessings for you. Thank you for the share in the beauty of my country, Bitcoin, and the most positive side of the land. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not a problem. It is. El Salvador is beautiful. It's absolutely. It is a stunning. I mean, look behind. Look at the scene. It's actually when you look at this, it's actually pretty. It looks like a backdrop.
Yeah, it does. It looks like the set of a really. It looks like the set of a nice.
It's a green screen.
Yeah. And
this isn't here.
Yeah. And Oscar is telling Karina, it is safe, don't worry. So so that's another Salvadorian saying it's safe here. Yeah. Wendy, do you think you'll settle in El Salvador for good? Would you go back to Toronto at least to visit?
Oh, it's hard. I'm not someone that really wants to settle. That's like at least not right now in my lifetime. I like exploring. That's part of who I am as a person. I like challenging myself. Comfort is, maybe you might paraphrase me, but comfort, I don't know if you guys ever heard of comfort is like the evil. Comfort is like the most dangerous zone that you can be in.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, and I felt that in my life before, where being comfortable has made me just anxious and what am I doing and where do I need to go? And so, I love all of Central America. I've been to Guatemala, I've been to Nicaragua, and I've really fallen in love with the region, the people, the culture, and I would like to explore more of it. So I don't know if I'll settle in El Salvador, but right now I am building something in El Salvador. And so I do want to continue building here. Will I ever come back to Toronto? Maybe to visit for a couple of days. And then once I'm all Torontoed out, get out of there.
Yeah. Okay. Guillermo again. I'll pronounce it wrong. I really understand the guy there. I really understand the guy there. I knew that here in this developed countries, everything is about appearances, illusions, fake lives. Sometimes selfish people, etc., come back to El Salvador. That's the difference, or the differ.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure what you're saying there is, in the Western world or in the more developed countries, people put a persona up, and they sort of are pretending to be someone maybe that they're not. So, and then when you come here, you actually do peel off the layers in a sense, because you're, especially I think coming from a Western country, and all of a sudden you're exposed to so much, you got to get down and dirty and become who you are.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Your
true self
pulls
comes out.
It pulls it
goes
out of you.
It does. Yeah.
Whereas in Toronto, and I understand, you don't want to seem weak, especially in a city like Toronto, where everybody does judge you. So you don't want to seem weak. You don't want to show your cards. So, you act like everything's totally okay.
Yeah.
Where I personally didn't feel like I would be at home and asking myself what I'm doing here, why I'm here. It's hard to make connections hard to make friends as an adult. And that's something that I would get questions a lot. Like, how do you make friends as an adult? In Toronto, I could see why it was so difficult to make friends as an adult. Here, we were making new friends every day.
It's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
So
our hometown, it's very cliquey. And anyone who comes in from out of town is like, man, it's really hard to make friends here. And it's like, yeah. But we were always doing our best to be welcoming. Yeah. But you don't always gel with everyone's personalities, but it took a lot to break into circles. And here, I think because we're here for a common purpose, and I think that happens with expat societies, is that you've got this common thing which makes it easier. You're open because you all want to make friends. You've
all been in that circumstance where it's like, oh, I know what it feels like not to be involved or not to feel like you're part of something. So everybody wants to make sure that no one feels like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what is the biggest advantage and the biggest disadvantage compared to Canada?
The biggest advantage, I would say, the weather and the food. The food here is just so fresh. When you can get access to it. And the weather is fantastic. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the snow or the cold. I never was. It'd make my body hurt. Disadvantages. That's a tough one. Oh, hot water. Sometimes you do want a hot shower, and I can't really get that here.
We haven't needed that yet, but I haven't been here for as long as you. But
sometimes I just want a hot shower. And that I can't get that here at all.
I have to admit, I do believe hot water on demand, is an amazing technology, which is underrated, especially in the West. But here, Nicki and I don't miss it because we're actually cold plungers, and we're actually enjoying escaping the heat by using the shower. And we were up at the volcano, and it was quite cool up there. And the place did have hot water.
Have hot water there,
But I said, Nicki, they've got hot water, but I'm going to use the cold shower because it's even colder than down at the beach. So it was quite funny to actually enjoy an even colder shower.
Absolutely. All right, another one. In El Salvador, you can be more free, comfortable to be yourself without the judgments you live in real life. Everything is more natural now, safe that doesn't have a price to move. Something is the best destination.
Yeah, I would say I definitely feel comfortable. I feel super comfortable here. And I'm very happy that I made that difficult decision at the time.
It is a big decision. I mean, we both had the same thing where it's like, that once you made that decision, it was amazing though. And then once we got here, the weight that came off our shoulders was incredible.
Totally.
It was just like, wow.
I know that.
We didn't realize the stuff that was going on.
The social pressure of what was happening in New Zealand was taking a massive toll.
And to come here, and then all of a sudden it was just like, it's gone.
I totally agree with that sentiment.
Totally. Which is really good. And then people don't want to walk late at night because of culture. That we early get together as a family, watch TV, talk, drink coffee with bread. Also, we like cars, so we prefer to drive. So our cars have been real.
That's actually something I've noticed here too, is a lot of people driving in cars, and there's one person in the car, and they're going to take the car that, for instead of like 20-minute or 50-minute walk, they're going to take a 2-minute car ride.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, and maybe because I work in working from the Bitcoin space, a lot of my work is done from the computer. I want to get up and I want to walk and I want to go do something because I've been sitting down all day, which is not the best thing for you, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, okay, I'm going to go walk. So I understand the cultural thing. If you're a laborer, then maybe you don't want to go out and walk because you've been out and it's hot all day.
Yeah.
So I understand. I understand.
Definitely. We've got Wendy. What made you interested in Bitcoin?
Ooh, well, again, when I was in, it actually started in a friend's chat group.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously going to school in business school, I had friends who we talked about investing all the time. And it started within a chat group back in 2016. It took me about a year to really do the research, because for me, my point of view was, well, Bitcoin doesn't have a product, doesn't have cash flow, then it's not going to work. That was my initial perspective, right? But I still went deep into the rabbit hole because I like the idea of privacy. I like the idea of not having any intermediary and no waste of energy, I would say is the way that I would put it. Those are what really drew me to wanting to learn more about it, right? Was that I'm in control. I'm the one that's in charge. I can't blame anybody else for what's happened or what will happen with my Bitcoin. It's not like, inflation I have no control over. The bank not wanting to send you your money when it's your money that you've worked hard for. I unfortunately have no control over that.
No.
That's in someone else's hands, even though it's my money. It's in someone else's hands.
So there's the problem when it's in someone else's hands. It's no longer technically your money.
Exactly,
It's
right?
an
Like
IOU.
the banks have your money, but it's not really your money because they could at any point tell you, no, we're not going to give it to you right now.
We like your money.
Yeah, exactly. We're making too much money off your money, so we don't want to give you your money.
Yeah.
And then Bitcoin, it allows me to really take control of that. And for me, that's the thing. It empowers me. Because if I'm in control, then now I have to do the research and I have to do my due diligence. And it's not trusting anybody else, but it's trusting my own capability and my own capacity. Yeah. And I'd rather that than have someone else be in charge of it, because I don't trust anybody else.
Yeah. And I think that can scare a few people,
of course,
in regards to the fact that they do have to start taking control. And I think that can be, one of the big sort of stopping blocks there. All right. Okay, Oscar. It's the biggest carnival in Central America. Okay, so that's
there you go.
San Miguel one.
See.
Right.
Everybody's gonna take it as this is the biggest. I'll
just go and check it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go check it out, and I will fill everybody in on if it's the biggest in Central America.
And also we've got here in USA. Everyone think that it's paradise, but it's not. It's beautiful, but lately crime is going up so bad. I don't really feel safe anymore. That is why I'm back, and I feel happy now. Also, US is expensive.
Maybe expensive.
Expensive.
Expensive. Yeah, expensive.
Yeah.
Listen, for anyone who's on that comment, listen to the latest Bukele and Tucker Carlson speech, because Bukele actually raises a really good point about how Salvadorans now would actually rather be here than in some of the biggest cities in America, because the tables have turned.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting.
Absolutely. Jorge Martinez, Guillermo.
It's all in Spanish.
It's all in Spanish.
Yeah, Guillermo, ¿cuándo es el Carnaval Grande? ¿Cuál fecha? So they're asking when is the big carnival date? I believe it's November 26, 27, 28, around there, because it's the last weekend of November. So I will be there. Hopefully we run into each other.
Yeah.
And then 60 something or other. Hi. We're saying hi back.
Hi, T-Bone.
And T-Bone. Hi,
T-Bone.
T-Bone.
I don't think that's our T-Bone.
Oh,
No, that's
T-Bone.
another one. T-Bone.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
T-Bone.
Different to T-Bone.
Okay.
Might be like a Bitcoin Cash version.
Yeah.
Hi, T-Bone. And then,
Are we going to call this the last
yes,
question?
The
Last
parents of the guy, they're Salvadorian. What department?
I believe, I want to say, so it's the town of Quesaltepeque, which, if I'm not mistaken, is either San Salvador department or Cuscatlan department. It's somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it, guys. I think we've been
over an
hour.
hour. Yeah,
And
which has been an awesome time though.
been really cool. And thank you, Ronnie, for coming and chatting. And it's been
It's
really
been awesome learning about all the different perspectives and why you're here. And it's cool to hear somebody who came before sort of all the big things really started being announced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and thank you for having me.
Mm.
It's been great. Again, we've I feel like we have a lot in common.
Yes.
Just like a lot of the expats here,
Mm.
and we are moving towards the direction that I think Bukele said it, and I keep hearing it. We are creating the place where we want to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are building the place where we
We
want
are.
to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think, I totally agree with that. I think that everyone who is coming, that's what they're dreaming of. They're
Yeah.
dreaming of creating their dream.
It's an opportunity. It's
Mm.
here, and while we're alive, why not take that opportunity?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
And earlier people had asked, or we talked about who we'd like to see the most at the conference.
Yes.
I'd really like to see Bukele turn up.
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
And
we're
give a
talking
big
about that.
announcement.
Yes.
He's not on the agenda, but who knows what's going to happen.
It'd be good.
We're just putting it out there.
Yeah, we're just putting it out there. Yeah.
Maybe he's watching, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
That'd
that'd
be
be
awesome.
incredible. Mick, thank you, James, Nicki, and Ronnie. For the
Oh, La
invite.
Libertad department.
Ah.
Wendy's right. The Quesaltepeque and La Libertad. It's just on the other side of the volcano.
Right. Okay. Eddie, hi guys. Sorry I'm late to the party. I'm here though. Oh, thanks, Eddie. We're just about to say goodbye.
All right.
Yeah. But the video is up. Will be up. You'll
Yes.
be able to
Rewind
and
and-
look at all the questions and
Yeah.
answers and listen to Ronnie. Lots of insight here in El Salvador. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. No, really cool.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank
It's
you.
the end of month 9, and
Yeah.
we're looking forward to month 10.
Yeah, so really, I suppose Monday Live's still on. So every Monday at 4:35 we do our live. It's more of just what we've done in the past week, though we are doing questions and answers at the end. So if you've got any questions during that time, please jump on. We do also, Bats is starting to come through. Yeah, so we also have our newsletter going out every Tuesday. So if you want to sign up for our newsletter, we do a monthly draw that you get to have a chat with us for 45 minutes too. So someone goes into the draw once a month.
Yep. Check your email because we've done 2 people now.
Yeah.
And we're waiting to hear back from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So please, if you do belong or do subscribe to our newsletter, definitely check that. And Bitcoin conference.
Yes.
It's on the 15th of November. So if you've got the
15, 16, 17.
Yeah.
If you have a DUI, you go for $21. And if you're on the fence, I would just recommend biting the bullet because on the door will be $500 if you don't have a DUI. So a lot of big names are coming, and it's just going to be a good time.
A lot of great minds,
Yeah.
a lot of builders,
Yeah.
and nothing is more exciting.
Yeah.
A lot of lightning builders, which
Yeah.
is where the excitement is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If my mom's still watching, thank you. I
Yeah.
love you, and I miss you, and I
Yeah.
hope to see you soon.
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
That's awesome. Thank you for watching.
All right.
Thank you very much.
See
Have a
ya.
great night.
Bye,
Have a great
everyone.
weekend.
Bye.
Boom.